want to kind of focus on a little bit of finances with you, Mikey. Like if we could speak to the younger generation of people, right? They haven't chose their career yet. Maybe they're in high school, they're in college, maybe they're going in debt to do that, but or they got into a trade. Like, what are some things that you would speak into somebody in the 18 to say 24 years old? They're just getting going. They're not married. What are some core skills financially that you see that a man or a person should have?
When it comes to finance, honestly, for the youth, there's really two things that we see become the biggest hurdle. One, culture is doing a really good job teaching kids that they cannot achieve wealth, that the only way to do so is being born into it. And kids are buying into it, that this isn't possible for them. If I could tell you anything, it is possible. I was a kid who rode a skateboard. I did not make a lot of money skateboarding. I never went to college. I'm doing something now that most people would say is impossible for a high school graduate that was a skateboarder to do. It is all possible, but you have to believe in it for it to be possible. Try to your best ability to figure out what you want to do first. Then decide if college is going to help you achieve that goal. Too many people go to college not knowing what they're going to do. And then the big piece is they go into debt to do so. And then they put themselves in a position where the thing that they went to school for doesn't pay them enough to even pay back the debt, or they end up doing something completely different. So if you're working through the kind of time of trying to figure out what's next, take a year off, take a gap year, go travel, go get an internship, try to the best of your ability, figure out what your skill sets are and what drives you, and find an industry where you can pair the two together. That is then going to result into freaking great results. The second part, because technology has become so advanced, we've gotten used to things being given to us very quickly, right? The instant gratification is everywhere now. When it comes to finance, it's the opposite. You do well when you learn how to delay gratification and when you stretch out your timeline, which is going to feel very unnatural. And so start to look at it through the lens of anything that is instant, that makes me feel like I can get rich quick. There's a 99.9% chance you're going to lose all your money doing that. Get rich quick schemes never work. The best investments are the boring ones. And so if you invest into something and it feels like you're watching paint dry on a wall, that's usually the good investments. Learn sales when you're young. Even if you don't want to go into sales, learn sales. That will change your whole outlook on how people pitch things to you.
Oh, because you have the skill of it, so you're watching people sell you.
You're just watching the tactic instead of the tactic hitting the emotion, and you not realizing why you're being drawn towards something or ultimately saying yes to something. When you understand the tactic, you look at it through a different lens, right? Like if you're a writer or a movie producer, when you go watch a movie, you're not watching a movie the same way we do. We're there for pure entertainment. They're looking at every single element of the production, how the actors commute, right? It's just a different thing.
That's good. That's because as I watch podcasts, I'm like totally dialed into what kind of mic they got. What are these transitions they're doing? That's so you're right on.
So if anyone wants to learn about sales, read the book Influence. It goes over the psychology of the sales and how you get somebody to say yes. That'll be huge for you. Even if you don't care about sales, it'll save you a lot of money.
That's awesome. That's part of your due diligence, people. I read the book. Okay. So I like that you said that culture was teaching you to get this fast and get it, but it's also kind of teaching you that you can't get wealth, but you said you have to believe that it's possible. So what if someone doesn't believe it's possible, there's no way they're going to get that output unless they accidentally get a lotto ticket or something. Right. So what changed your belief? I mean, it sounds like you're a guy that just walked into these, I'm not saying you're naive, but you like walked into these opportunities that presented themselves to you. But when or what changed your belief?
So So I say that I went into things naively, right? But the other part of it is I went into things believing that I could do it. Like naively believing I could do it, but believing I could do it, right? Like when we started the craft brewery, my two partners were my friends. We had no business experience at all. We didn't have any money. We had to build a business plan and go raise money. We had no idea what it really took to do so, but all three of us knew without a shadow of a doubt that we could do it, right? There was no doubt in our mind that we could succeed. Same thing with this campaign. Right now, like, going after it, I've already experienced success in multiple categories. I walk into this thing somewhat naively to think like, dang, this is going to be more difficult than I thought. But I thought for sure I could win, right? There wasn't a doubt in my mind that I couldn't win. Then it ends and I find out that basically somebody who runs for office their first time never wins. It's like never happens. It's usually the second or the third time. Look, I would never have even tried if I didn't believe I could do it. And at that point, I couldn't do it, right? This is the part though that I'm constantly working on. Like, just because I know that reality, your perception of reality becomes reality, that doesn't mean that I don't struggle pushing myself beyond what I think is possible. And I would say another book that's really good to read, whether you love him or hate him, Grant Cardone wrote a book called 10X. It's actually a perfect representation of what we struggle with as people, right? We typically set the bar where we think it's possible to hit. And if we're trying to like push our goals beyond, maybe we push it a little bit. But the reality of what's possible is usually 10x what you think it is. I'll give an example with our company. When we started Saint Archer, we had to raise about $2.5 million to start it. And we had, almost a year to do so. Fast forward to my new company, the first project we did, we had to raise about $3 million for the first apartment, right? Except this time I had 45 days to raise the money because we had a project under contract. We had to raise the money before it closed. And I remember tripping, like, oh my gosh, I've raised this much money before, but I've never had to do it on this, short of a timeline. Is it possible? And I was like, okay, yeah, it's possible, but I was kind of lying to myself. Well, we ended up raising the money, right? Now, dude, we raised 10x that in the amount of money we raise. Like, we'll raise $3 million in like a day now, right? And now I have to push myself to go, okay, if I'm comfortable raising, let's call it $10 million for one project, I bet $50 million is possible. Bet $100 million is possible. So even I have to push myself based on on where I think the bar is.
Well, that's powerful. I feel like a lot of the successful entrepreneurs and stuff, like they just have that, I'm not X factor in the sense that you got to see a belief that something's behind you, you can make it, right? And is there people that speak? Go ahead.
But this is the thing, though. You're right. Yeah. What we see is that person has the X factor. They have a belief system that's just unbelievable, right? What you don't see is what they're actually going through inside, right? I'm telling you right now, everyone, myself, anyone you look at, they're tripping inside. There's a part of us where we are lying to ourselves on what we truly think is possible. The crazy part is, though, just lying to your subconscious, you'd be blown away with how your body performs once it's just being told that it could do, right? And then you hit the goal, and then you're like, holy crap, I can't believe I did that. So just know that everyone struggles with this. Everyone. Certain people are just telling themselves over and over till they just believe it.
That's it. That's powerful, though, because you're talking yourself into it, because a lot of people struggle with negative self-talk, and I don't know where that comes from, but it's like you're your own worst enemy. So if you could just put some belief in your own self, say some things that you want to achieve, even if they're 2x what you want to achieve, that's still better than you even speaking negative. Like, and I think, the Bible talks about renewing your mind. That's a big part of it, is really transitioning your belief to what God says you are, right? To the principles that he gives you. Well, if he's backing up those principles, like you're familiar maybe with Deuteronomy 8, where it says, like, I'm the God that gives you the power to create wealth so I can fulfill my covenant with you. Like part of the Abrahamic covenant was that, like, if you walk in my ways, I'm going to bless you. I'm going to
Right.
fill you up,
Right.
and it says Christians are still under the Abrahamic covenant, like people of faith. Like, so just knowing that you have this God that is behind you, try a little bit, right? And
Right.
it's not to be like crazy, like,
Right.
Satan tempted Jesus to jump off a building, but it's like, no, try in the things he told you to do, walk in character. He says you can go get wealth. And I'm not sure how far you are in promoting entrepreneurship, but I think even Paul, the apostle, when he was telling people, seek to be free from slavery, which is because job isn't in the Bible. Employment's not in the Bible. I learned this from a guy, Josh Tolley. Uh, it's really similar. A job is really similar to that. Like you choose
Mm-hmm.
to be a servant to someone. But he says, if you can get out of that, and then there's other places he says, work with your own hands to do good in your own business
Right.
and live a good life. So,
Right.
but anyways, but with that God behind you, like, what are you capable of? And so I think we need to elevate our belief. So I love that you brought
Right.
that up.
Right.
So
100%.